Welcome to the Farmers Podcast. Today's the 25th of April. It's been a few months. I've been busy farming and livestock and working and family. I just wanted to check in and see how everybody's doing. A lot of things have come up, new things in California, in the world with the conflict with Iran, and just wanted to, give you guys a few personal opinions and updates on what's going on here in California. Let's start off with the governor's race. As you've seen, people here in California, the sheriff probably has the biggest chance of being our next governor. Hopefully, he's got my vote. The gas obviously is a big issue right now in California, but you can blame Trump if you want. That's normal for for Democrats, but we're in this situation because a lot of our restrictions we have on the oil fields and all that stuff. That's our fault as Californians. We voted for these wackos, that came in here and said that fossil fuels are the enemy and that we need to be all electric. But people are starting to wake up. You can make your own opinion about it. I don't have an electric car. I might buy a Tesla in the future. I'm not sure yet. The ranges kind of don't make sense, especially where we live, because there's not much options for charging stations, and we travel for our supplies. And so right now it doesn't make any sense. Even with the fuel at $5.39 an average for our area of Avenel, Coalinga, Huron, and Hanford, Lemoore. I noticed that all the protesting on ICE has kind of slowed down a little bit, and it makes sense. It was more political than anything, just theater that the Democrats were pushing, and it didn't really work out for them. People are still getting deported. I told you it was going to happen. It's going to continue to happen while Trump's in office, and depending on who takes over after that. So that's just going to be the new norm. So we can move on and figure out a way to help if you guys want to. If you guys want to collab and come up with solutions for like the dreamers, or for speeding up the process. But vetting is a very important thing. I always said, you need a vet who's here. I did want to talk about the cattle, the livestock. Man, it is crazy. The prices for beef is not normal. I've been tracking a few different guys on Facebook, and they're predicting that the cattle market will crash this year. So I'd suggest if you have cattle, sell it right now. It's high. And then wait, because a lot of people are going to lose their ass by holding on. Then you'll be able to buy. And that's my advice. If you have feed and you have land, sell whatever you don't need. Sell it right now. The market's high. You're going to make, I think they did a few auctions. I know they did one in Overland and one in Harris, and 500 pound calves went for like 25 to 2,700 bucks. So that's a good market for a calf. I've seen some of the Facebook auctions from Texas, and they're doing drop calves that are 1 day old, ranging from $750 to $900. I remember we used to get drop calves for $50 3 years ago. Dairy ones, but it's crazy. And beef's expensive to buy in the market too at the stores right now. If you can get with a local grower or rancher that raises beef, grass-fed beef, buy a half, buy a whole cow, it's going to be the price is going to be high for this at least the whole year until the market is predicted to crash. And then, I just part of the reason I think it's going to crash is because of that whole scare with the Lyme disease. Just thought it was kind of odd that Pfizer came out with the Lyme disease vaccine all of a sudden, and Bill Gates was involved with the program for the ticks. So that's kind of odd and fishy in my eyes. And I know some of you guys always say just conspiracy theorists, but man, that don't stack up right here. But to each their own. I want to touch a little bit on the conflict with Iran, and just my observation. I know a lot of people don't want to be in a forever war. Since Afghanistan, Iraq. I get that. The last few presidents after George Bush kind of fell asleep on the wheel to me. You know what I mean? Iran has been able to enrich and become a bigger threat ever since, and I'm not for people getting killed or dying and stuff like that, but they're threatening us. They were a threat. You can take however you want. And they don't like our way of living. They don't like the West. And if they got the chance to attack us, they probably would. So I'm behind the troops. I'm behind President Trump with this. Take him out. I don't understand what the full end game is. I know it has to deal with oil and money. That's the bottom line. Oil and money move everything. So it's going to be a win-win. We're already within Venezuela. We already reduced the oil and fuel that China and Russia and them can get for cheap. Now Iran. So it makes sense. We're going to squeeze everybody so that we have control of the market. Some of you guys don't agree with that, but somebody has to be in charge. You either have them in charge, and they're not democracies like you guys like to use that word, or you have our country that's going to be in charge of patrolling the world. So it's one or the other. You have to give or take, or make a choice. Draw the line on the sand and choose a side. So, also seeing that a lot of different people have mixed opinions of the Catholic Pope, Pope Leo, and his statements against Trump and the conflict with Iran. And being a Catholic, and a Christian, I'm not gonna badmouth the Pope, just because he doesn't agree with the president or nothing like that. That's his opinion. You know what I mean? He speaks for himself. So if he doesn't like the conflict, then that's on him. Sure. That doesn't mean that as a Catholic I'm gonna follow right behind him. There's been hundreds of murders of Christians, not just Catholics, throughout the whole world, at hands of Muslims, because their belief is that they are the true religion. So whenever, in my opinion, whenever Christians enter those countries that are mainly Muslim, there's always a conflict that ends very, very bad for Christians, because they don't have a tolerance for Christians like we do for Muslims and other religions when they come to the West. And I mean, I'm for you practice your religion. I don't care, any religion. Just let us Christians in peace be Christian, and welcome us to your country like we do to yours. We do to you guys in our country, and we can try to live in harmony and peace. But obviously, religion does play a big factor in how we shape the world and how we view morals and how people behave in the society, and it's a big factor too. What else? I work in agriculture. It's part of my background. Obviously, the Farmers Podcast. So I've been when I drive around, I'm looking to do my internship, and I go to all these fields and farms, and now I see everywhere for sale. It doesn't make sense. I understand that for I always say libs or liberals and Democrats. The farmers are leaving California. You're going to end up with huge corporations, not individual farmers anymore. I understand that there's a stigma that farmers have too much money, that they're selfish, but the majority of farmers are small farms. You rarely have the big farm corporations here. Well, you did. So these guys, if you've never done anything in agriculture, you don't understand the time and effort, blood, sweat, not even just including the money, because a lot of the farmers don't take out loans. These small farmers pay out of pocket for everything. So when you're at the grocery store looking and you're like complaining about the tomatoes, the grain, why is this cost? There was a time in the United States when we produced everything, and everything was made here in the United States for the most part. And people were proud. The farmers were regarded as, now I wouldn't say heroes, but good folks, good common folks. So I don't know how we fell from that, where we saw them as just greedy rich men, and decided to put all these regulations, especially here in California, very Democratic state, put all these restrictions and regulations on water and stuff, and then we're wondering why our produce are so expensive. Yeah, it's one thing to import everything from Mexico or Central America and buy cheap goods and stuff, but there's no pride behind that. To us here at our homestead, man, we take pride when we're having dinner, and we don't eat expensive food. Like if we have some beef, we have leftover beef. Like we'll sell the beef. We want, we need the ranch needs a profit. So we're not eating high quality beef, but we're eating very good quality beef because it's raised in our backyard. Same thing goes with our sheep and goats. And for the longest time, I've been a big advocate of explaining to people, or trying to, man, you should take pride in raising your own, your own lambs, your own goats, your own beef, or just a few chickens, man. It makes a big difference. Not, when we were going through the egg issue, the shortage of eggs, or the price hike of it, I went and bought 12, 15 chicks. I'm almost at 20 now. I bought some more, and man, I got eggs everywhere. I don't. In a few months, didn't bother me. And there were still people complaining. Obviously now it's kind of mellowed out. Obviously prices are high right now, but it'll drop once everything stabilizes, the market stabilizes. I don't understand how people think that it's too much work to do things for yourself and raise your own meats. How the norm is the store. I've talked to people and they're like, I only buy from the store. And I'm just like, man, you don't even know, the majority of the time, you don't even know where that beef's coming from, what they fed it. In the United States, it's going to change, and I think I've said it before, if they import meat or beef, livestock beef, from a different country like Brazil or Australia, if they change the package when it arrives, they can slap a product of the USA, and it's not even raised or to the standard that we should be here. And I've seen the pork industry kind of get wiped too because of the standards of California, regulations. Bacon, I think Costco right now has it for like $18 or $19 for a 3-pack of bacon. That's expensive. But we'll right away go turn and say, hey, it's this person's fault, instead of looking back and saying, what are we voting for? Like, these people were putting into, and I always say, your vote matters the most in local positions versus federal and the presidential elections. Who we put in our city council and our districts representing us, that's where your vote matters. And we live in conservative area. Keep it conservative. We don't want San Francisco and LA here. I don't mind going to visit. I like San Francisco, but I wouldn't want to live there because of their policies or regulations that they have, because they have a different mentality. They don't understand what it's like to just want to come home and not be around 1,000 people. So, just had a few things I wanted to talk. I haven't been keeping up too much with the news. Just been working on living, and I just wanted to check in with the followers and let them know that I'm still trying to create the context for the episodes. It's just I've been busy, so I appreciate you guys for the patience. Thank you. I was talking to one of my buddies, Josh, and he asked me for some water, well advice, and then he asked me about an episode, and I was just thinking I was going to make one tomorrow on Sunday, and we started getting a little bit of rain when I was working outside on the corrals, and I said, I'm going to go inside the house. I'll just drop an episode today, and we'll go from there, and then hopefully within a few weeks I can drop another episode. And then I've been kind of trying to follow more of the livestock auctions. I have a fascination for trying to crack the code of why the market fluctuates. Like, pricing, but I did go to the auction last Saturday, and man, it was a buyer's market. It wasn't a seller's market. I took some young kids, some goats, not children, and they didn't do as good as I thought they were gonna do. But if you had some older goats and ewes, they brought some good money. I was like, man, maybe I should have waited about another three more months and take them at the end of the summer. But I hope, if you guys went today to the Easton Easton auction, the Fresno livestock auction, you guys did good, because there seemed like there was a good selection today. And I just give a shout out to all the military people. I was at a concert yesterday. We went to watch Journey at the Save Mart Center, and I can't remember the guy. It's not really my band. I just went with my wife, and the guy gave a pretty good, salute to our troops, and just trying to reiterate to the folks at the concert that we should stand behind, no matter what political stand you have on who's running the country. Our troops volunteer to serve and protect, and that's not an easy task. So always support them. They leave family, parents, loved ones, kids behind, and we take it for granted, because we get to come home every day after work. The majority of us get to come home, and even though we don't spend all the time we can, because some of us have to work a lot, we're home with our kids, and the men and women are deployed overseas, and they don't get to see or come home to their loved ones every day. So I appreciate the troops. I'm real grateful for them and for everything they do for our country. But so I just wanted to drop this episode and welcome you guys back, and hopefully there's a few new viewers on YouTube. If there's any topics you guys want to hear from me regarding agriculture, I probably should do an episode on ag and I guess home gardening. It's not my big thing, but I've planted trees at our house. They're good. I got a green thumb. But if there's any topics you guys want me to run by, shout out to Joe Rogan too, for sure. That guy is the standard of free speech. When I watch his podcast and just the different variety of guests he has on there, that guy's on it. And there's a few other guys too, Theo and Sean Ryan. Their podcasts are amazing too, but man, Joe Rogan is out of this world. That is one dedicated man. That's one busy guy, and he still does this thing on his podcast, and I hope nothing but the best for him. Even if at one point he changes his mind, doesn't agree with us conservative Republicans, man, he at least gives you both views. He gives you his opinion, and he lets the guests try to explain and defend their point of view, and that's rare. But there's a change coming. Even like some of the more leftist late night show guys have started, Ron Stewart and them have started coming around on some of the stuff that's going on. But like I said, I just want to tell you guys thank you. Stay tuned I'm going to be posting it on Facebook. Share the link. Subscribe to the channel. And let me know what you guys thought about the episode. I like to read the comments if you do, or send me a DM if you guys don't want to post on their own topics. Oh, one thing I did want to touch on that I just kind of remember off the top of my head. When I first saw it, I've always said it, but I thought it was very rich to finally, racism. I like touching on that subject because, obviously it's a very touchy subject for a lot of people, especially if you feel a certain way. The Democrats got caught red-handed. You can say whatever you want. They're trying to defend their way out of it and this and that. I'm not denying that there is some racism. There's preference. I know that. And it's not always just skin color. Social classes too. But it's not racism. It's discrimination. But it's not racism based on skin color. The fact that it's not as big as this, you guys should be blowing this up. These guys were literally paying KKK funding to create issues because racism sells. Hate sells. And it's a shame that this is what we've come to as a society, that and I'm not going to just say Democrats, just some certain people and groups in general. There's no place for that in the world we live in now. Our cultures are mixed. When you say Californian, you're not talking about brown Californians, black Californians, or white Californians. It's a mixture. It's all mixed. And most of the United States is the same way now. So pay attention to that. People get sucked into that and, oh, I'm a victim, this and that. Sometimes bad shit happens to people. How you react to that and how you stand yourself up, it defines you as a person. The road's never going to be easy. But you got to be a tough motherfucker if you want to make it. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in